Hey guys, how is everybody doing? It is Granna. I hope everybody's having a great day today. I'm having a fabulous day. So let's just hop on into this conversation for today. Okay. A lot of people are getting ready, coming up to this weekend. They'll be getting ready to celebrate Juneteenth Day. I think the holiday has always been celebrated. The official holiday is June the 19th. And, all this celebration came into play back in 1865 on June the 19th. The Union troops went into Gallatin, Texas, and enforced the freedom of slaves. I mean, and this is like 2 years after President Lincoln had officially declared all the slaves to be freed. So it took additional 2 years before all the slave was officially freed. So it became a celebration, a day of celebration. And I know that, like I say, probably in the Black communities, this is a holiday that they have celebrated for years, but over the last 157, almost 160 years ago, that they've celebrated this holiday. I personally did not know about this holiday till a few years ago, and I think that's when it became worldwide celebration, where people really get into the celebration of the freedom for the African Americans, because we were the one that was enslaved. So I think it has become more popular around the world, as, just like kind of like Pride celebration and all that. I think people have really gotten into the history of it and learned the history of it and, started that celebration on that. And throughout the world, there's so many different events that be going on that whole weekend leading up to the date, the 19th of June. There's, usually start the weekend leading up to that, the weekend before leading up to that. And, people get together, even if it's as simple as, a family getting together and, and enjoying themselves and having cookouts and this and that, because there's so many different events, you can find all kind of events if you Google it. There's going to be a couple of different events going on in my area. I will be going to one of them on Saturday. So I'll come back and talk to you guys about that after I go to that. But yeah, it's a part of learning your history. First, I guess you need to go back and read up on Juneteenth and why it's so important to the African American communities and people. And I mean, not only do we celebrate it, like I said, it's worldwide. All kind of people celebrate the holiday, but it definitely is something really, really special for African American. Just a time to reflect on where we came from over these last 157 years, and what it took for us to get to where we are. And all that, because like I said, you have to when you read about it and read the history on it, I mean, I don't even know why it would have taken 2 additional years for all of the slaves to be freed when it was already put into the emancipation 2 years prior. Like I said, President Lincoln made that a law 2 years prior to that, but it took an additional 2 years before everybody would abide by it. And then it took troops, over 2,000 troops, Union troops or so, somewhere around there, to march into Texas and enforce it and make it happen. And I mean, the president already said, let us go, free us. And it was still, unions and parts of the country that did not want to abide by that rule, did not want to free their slaves. They still wanted to, keep that as a part of their thing. You know, they still wanted to they still wanted to enforce the slavery when it's already been made into a law that the slaves should be freed and stuff. But you know, that's just a part of the history that we had to go through and had to live through. So it's kind of sad that you know, you had to first get a law to free us, and then you had to, there was parts of the country or parts of a state that still did not want to abide by that that law. So it's, you know, it's a reason for celebration. It's definitely a reason to celebrate. But before you start celebrating it, go back and read the history on it. You know, read about it and really digest it, you know, on top of everything else. You know, when they pass laws these days, you are supposed to abide by these laws and do what you're supposed to do. If you don't, then they're going to arrest you, or you know, you're going to end up going to jail. But back then, a law was passed when it came to holding people as part of your property, and they was still allowed, people were still allowed to do that to other people, still keep them as property, because they didn't want to give that up. They didn't want to give up their empowerment. They wanted to keep that power over a group of people. So they was willing not to follow it, where it got to a point where you had to take soldiers into this part of the country and enforce and fight for them to let these people be free and no longer be a part of their property, you know. And it's crazy. It's just crazy when you sit back and you think about that, you know. It's just crazy. It's just so crazy. When I be reading different books about history, and definitely when it comes to slavery and all that, and what all those people had to live through and enduring every day, and knowing they was the property of someone else and they could not do as they wanted, or even basically have a life, because their life depended on someone else controlling it. And you know, after this elected president that they didn't even have a choice in electing, give them freedom or enforce this law where no one can own slaves anymore. And they still didn't want to abide by that. And they're the one that put Lincoln in the presidency, you know, and he set this law into place, and they still don't want to abide by it. You know, they did not want to give up that control and that property, because that's all we were back then. It was property to people, to other people. We had no control over it. And they had got accustomed to having their slaves do everything for them, and just having that control. That's what it's all about, that mindset of controlling someone else, every move, and what they can do and can't do. And people don't like to give up that control. You know, they don't like that. But you know, I sit back and I wonder how they would have felt if the shoe was on the other foot, if they would have been the one enslaved, and they would have been the one being controlled and told what to do every minute of the day, how they can do it, when they can do it, and all that. How would they have liked that? How would they have been able to manage that? I don't think a lot of them would have been able to handle it. I really don't. You know, it's all about manipulating people and having that mindset control over them. And a lot of them thought they had control because, or had beat them slaves down so much mentally that they would not be able to survive once they got that freedom. They would not be able to thrive from there, because they feel like they had manipulated and taken their mind and twisted it all which way, that they wasn't going to be able to survive anyway. And that definitely proved them to be wrong, because many slaves came out of being enslaved and became very successful. And a lot of slaves, even when they was in that control, they had so many different skills, so they was able to take those skills with them and continue to start a successful life for themselves, and build their life and go head on. But that's what Juneteenth is all about, just celebrating the freedom of slaves, and that power being taken away from their slave owners, and being a property of their slave owners. So it just gave the slaves back then the freedom that they needed to live their life, and not always. And even with that, there still was people out there that was totally against slaves being free, and would still beat the crap out of them, or abuse them in any kind of way, form, or shape that they could. They really didn't. There was a lot of people that still didn't give a dang about what the law said, or what, they didn't care. They just did not care. They had it instilled in them that they was superior over this certain group of people, cultural people, and they was not going to acknowledge them as a person, or give them the acknowledgement that the slave deserved. They was just gonna, they felt the way they felt, they thought the way that they thought, and nothing was gonna change their mindset. They didn't care if Lincoln, what Lincoln had said, what president, they didn't give a dang what he was saying, or what he was trying to do. They was in that mindset. They was brought up in that type of bringing, that they were superior to slaves, or to African American people, to African people. So it didn't matter what anything else said. They was going to always be that way. And even after the freedom came along, there were still blacks killed and hung and abused, simply because of the skin of their color, the color of their skin, simply because of that. So it's just interesting. Go back and read the history about it, and go out and celebrate. Have your own little celebration. Say a prayer. Send up a prayer for everyone that had to go through that over 157 years ago. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the weekend. Google. I'm sure whatever area you're in, you can Google and find out what's going on, where it's going to be at, and get a chance to go out. Because most of the time there's different types of arts and different types of crafts and stuff like that you can see. Interesting, crafts and arts and even, music and different stuff that you can experience, that everybody comes together and bring out this time of year and really celebrate it. I mean, it's not only for African American people, it's for everyone to celebrate and enjoy. So, guys, have a great Juneteenth weekend coming up. Get out, enjoy it, fellowship, have a good time, make some new memories, and think about the reason for the season, reason for the celebration. Think about why we are really celebrating Juneteenth. Okay. All right, just a little something I want to throw at you guys to think about as you go out the rest of your week and going into the end of your week. Give you some few ideas of something you might want to celebrate. If you choose to celebrate it, great. If you choose not to celebrate it, that's great too. We all have our own minds and opinion. We can do as we choose today. We can do or don't do, okay? All right, guys, I am getting ready to get up out of here. If you're out and about, have a great day. Be kind to everybody you come in contact with. Stay positive. Just stay positive. Don't let nobody pull you out of your character. Stay positive, okay? You guys have a great day. Granna gonna check you out next time around.